nightmare.
Hello and welcome to Cinema Subculture, the podcast where we discuss everything strange, obscure and downright messed up in the world of movies. My name's Gary.
And I'm Simon. So Gary, what film or films are we going to be looking at today?
From 1985, directed by Lamberto Bava, it is Demons.
Son of
and
Mario.
Also Demons 2. I don't know when Demons 2 was made. 1986?
85 I've got. No, you're right. Sorry, 86. Yeah, I think it was a year after.
Aye. 1 year after the original. What happens in this movie?
Yeah.
You might be asking.
I was just about to ask that. I was just about to ask that very thing. Do you have a little synopsis for us?
Let's find out. A group of random people are invited to a screening of a mysterious movie, only to find themselves trapped in the theatre with ravenous demons.
Oofed. Quite cool premise. But I'd never seen this film. I don't think you'd ever seen either of the films before. Yeah, quite an interesting premise. How do you think it was executed?
Right.
Your thoughts on it?
So, first off the bat, I'd say it's very slick, very stylish. Not exactly what you expect from 80s Italian horror. Feels more quite American. Feels, quite removed from directors like Lucio Fulci, Deodato, etc.
It's quite a lot of. It feels quite like pop culture seeping into the films. That way, like the other movie posters within the movie theatre and things like that. It seems just like we were saying. There's kind of like a. What did you say that you said? The words you used.
Slick, stylish.
Slick. That's it.
Right.
Sorry, I couldn't get that. I couldn't quite. I was kept to say polished. Yeah, quite that kind of thing, kind of almost like meta, kind of self-referential a little bit. Kind of knowing that it's kind of knowing what it is almost. That kind of the kind of screen way that it's kind of like referencing kind of horror tropes, and some of the characters even say like they get the free ticket to the movie. It's like, oh, it's like it better not be a horror film. And then when they get there, it's like, told you it'd be a horror film. It's like, this is terrible. Like it's quite kind of self-deprecating almost in a way.
So you've kind of got like all the big hitters of Italian horror on board here. So you've got Bava, you've got Argento, you've got Claudio Simonetti from Goblin doing the soundtrack. You've got Dardano Sacchetti, the screenwriter. And I can sort of understand the sort of love this film gets, in a sense, because I think that if you'd rented this movie when you were about 12, it would be your favourite movie, wouldn't it? It kind of ticks all the boxes for that age group, like just like crazy action, gore, and just quite a fun vibe to it. And it feels like the sort of motivation for the movie was, how crazy can we make it? Let's just go wild. It does ultimately feel quite one note, in the sense that it goes from 0 to 10 pretty quickly, and then it runs out a road, I feel. But halfway through, so a second act, we've kind of peaked, and there's not a lot of room to go. It does kind of, start to tread water a wee bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think I completely agree with you. I think my favourite parts of the film were probably the kind of build-up stuff, all the stuff leading up to, them getting to the movie theatre. I felt there could have been more time spent there with the characters a little bit, and then even when they're getting settled down in the movie theatre for the film to start, I was quite enjoying the pacing there, and we're kind of getting like the kind of crossover between what we'd seen in the real world, quote unquote, and what we were seeing in the film. But as you say, it does just suddenly just kick off, and there's no kind of ramp up. It's just, as you say, 0 to 10. It's like it just goes so quickly. But I think that the kind of build up, the kind of fun that we're having in the theatre with the characters, and the kind of preamble of that, being a fan of cinema, like that kind of, I can see that being quite enjoyable. And I think we could kind of stretch that a little bit further and had the mayhem been a little bit later and a little bit more concentrated, I suppose, because there's a few like kind of slumps once it kicks off. it does kind of slump in, and almost it almost feels like the characters don't know what they're supposed to do, but then it feels like the film doesn't know what it's supposed to do. I'm thinking like the part where they're up in the upper balcony in the theatre, they're kind of blocking off all the doors, and you're like, right, cool, okay. But then they find the brick wall that they break down, and they go down to a literal dead end. That, and you're like, like why did we do that?
Yeah.
And like the same way the characters are different, and maybe that I don't know if that's intentional or not, but I feel like it's probably more didn't have enough story there to. As you say, once they kicked off, they were like, oh crap, we've got another half hour to fill here. How are we going to do this? And I think that might be endemic of the origins of the story, which I think originally Lamberto was wanting to do like a kind of anthology film, much like what his dad did with Black Sabbath. And there were 3 segments, one of them being the movie theatre Demons story, which he kind of apparently fell in love with and said to make that into the feature. But I think it's like, I think another symptom of that, them not having enough story necessarily to fill the runtime of a feature, and it maybe being better placed as a an anthology, because it feels almost like a creep show or something like that. That it would be one part of like a 2-hour film, but it's when they introduce the kind of the punk characters. Like from nowhere, and like because it was rocking along, and I'm like, right, or we're going to be trapped in this movie theater with these characters, and then it just switches to outside, and we're in a car with some other characters, and I'm like, what, what's happening here? It just felt like a bit like with the and I mean, and they did nothing really. Like they it came to nothing.
Yeah,
they didn't rescue. I mean, I guess they kind of let the demons out into the world, I suppose you could say. But it felt very kind of like another dead end of like, let's just throw this in, see where it goes. Or it doesn't go anywhere. That's fine. Just don't worry about it.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time building those characters up. Yeah. Just for them to go into the theatre and that was it. They get killed.
And I kind of like honestly thought, I wasn't sure, because I was interested in those characters because they were like, we almost spent more time with them than the main characters. We got more about them, like their backstory almost, than we did with the actual hero people of the film. And when they're snorting like cocaine, it seems to be out of the Coke can. I at first thought that it was literally just, I'm like, oh wow, is this another part of that kind of pop culture? Is it a product placement thing? Is he actually, at first I thought he was just snorting Coca-Cola out of a Coke can. I thought it was some sort of taking the piss in some way, until they spelt the cocaine. But I was always hoping it was just like a kind of literal taking the piss out of like snorting Coke. Like, we can't show that, or we shouldn't show them actually taking cocaine. But yeah, that whole scene, it just seems like they're doing something with those characters, or they're going to do something with them. And because I was hoping one of them was going to be like, the hero or something like that, or something.
Yeah, well, the female character Nina, I think her name is. It sort of hints that it's going to build some kind of character arc around her, and her kind of sense of her own identity. And it hints at a kind of abusive history, and there's quite a touching scene where she's like putting lipstick on in the mirror, and you think what's going to happen here, but then she just gets killed by a demon, and that's it, which is like just a bit of a failed opportunity there.
I'd say there's a few characters that I feel that way about in this film, like the I don't know if he's a pimp or not, like the black guy that's like with the 2 prostitutes, or supposedly like prostitutes that the other guy theorizes, like, what he says, whores. What?
Is he not called Tony the Pimp?
Is that literally his name? That's what it is. Yeah, I was right. So Tony the Pimp. Like again, his character like kind of came across like I don't know, like I had a kind of Dawn of the Dead kind of feel at one point when they were walking up in that upper balcony. And I had the feeling that, okay, this is going to be pretty. This could be quite interesting. He's quite loud and shouty, but it's quite. I like how he's taking charge of it. If you know what I mean. No, he's just gone. he just gets bitten, and that's it. He's screwed. And you're like, oh, okay. What was why did we get all that build up with that guy?
That's interesting, like what you were saying about, it possibly being conceived as a shorter piece, because I think the first section is the most interesting, and the central conceit about the film playing out and then the sort of film coming out the screen, so to speak, and being reenacted in real life. That's quite a reasonably good idea. But so the demons start to come out the screen, and then that's basically the end of that idea, isn't it? Like, there's no real.
I guess in this one, it's less that they're coming out the screen. It's more that it's mirroring. You know, we can talk about the second one at some point, but in this one, it's more like it's the mask is there, so it's they literally, don't get me wrong, one of the women that gets infected first literally comes bursting through the screen at the cinema, but it's I think it's less that in this one. They're actually coming out of the film. It's just more that the story's been mirrored, which I thought, I think it's interesting.
Yeah, but still, that still comes to an end, because the
Yes.
film basically ends, the film they're watching, because I think that's an interesting idea, the difference between sort of art and life, reality and fiction, and that would be an interesting idea to explore it. But aye,
even when the whole cinema idea, and when you go into the projection room and the film's still playing, they didn't really explore that very much. The fact that the film was playing, and I think they think like if they wreck that or destroy that it's going to stop it in some way. But it might have been interesting to play that out a bit more and have it still, the film literally still be playing and seeing more mirrored instances. I thought it was quite fun when they burst into the projection room and they're like looking at all the projectors and they're like how futuristic they are supposed to look. I'm like, I think these are meant to look futuristic,
Right.
aren't they? With all the like the dials on and stuff on the sides. What was the deal with the usher, the usherette, or Ingrid the usherette, is her character name. Like, did you get the impression that she was in on it?
Well, it sort of sets her up as being a bit of sinister, doesn't it? And sort of knowing something more. But then she becomes a victim, as she kind of joins in with him, doesn't she?
Again, another character that goes nowhere. Sorry, another character that's set up quite interestingly, because we get the guy with the half face mask who gives the tickets out, who's obviously in on it, right? But when we got there, she was. Was there not something like the first time we see her is like, I think she I don't know if she's having sex with someone or she's just pulling up her tights or something like that. But it's a kind of, you're not quite sure what's going on with her, and then there's a lot of looks that she gives, and even when the mask gets put on, the woman scratching her face, like, to me, like, I was like fully expecting some sort of reveal, but I like once the things kick off, she kind of melds into the crowd and isn't really picked out anymore, like, with the camera or any shots, and then she just gets killed, and I'm like, oh, okay. Like, who employs her? Like, just again another character that seems to just didn't have an end or any kind of, all set up and no delivery with it.
Definitely kind of shot itself in the foot by not building sort of avenues for it to go. I don't know, it seemed to be more concerned about just set pieces and kills and gore. It's interesting, it sort of feels like a horror movie that sort of pivots towards action. Like, it's got sort of one foot in sort of action movie genre. You've got the main hero who by the end of it's get a ripped shirt and his pecs out riding a motorcycle, or is he on a bike? Is a helicopter as well? Aye.
No, he's on a he's on the motorbike, but the helicopter comes through the roof, I'm sure, just melts.
It feels more reminiscent of maybe something like the Terminator rather than what you'd expect from a traditional horror film.
I suppose it also has like that kind of Army of Darkness, like, the third Evil Dead film, which had very much was like action comedy, light horror kind of thing. So I don't think that was actually before. Yeah, this would have been before Army of Darkness. So yes, I know what you mean. It definitely has that kind of like climax, doesn't it? Like there's a lot of kind of bikey kind of action and killing zombies, like demons.
Yeah, I don't know if it's by design or not, but it doesn't build any suspense or really much sense of threat. It's just more about how crazy can we make it and how gory can we make it. And sort of, I think the gore is its main selling point, isn't it? That's what it sort of pushes to the front. And I think the special effects and the makeup are really good, but I think for me, that's just like not quite enough.
Yeah, I think a lot of the kind of bladder effects, that the under the skin effects and stuff like that, were really really convincing and pretty gruesome. Like I particularly like the effect of the teeth falling out.
Right,
So that was done pretty well, and quite a cool concept. But yeah, I think that's maybe the film's problem. That it's a really cool concept and idea. They have executed the visuals pretty well, but they've really stretched like a kind of an anthology segment into a feature without really, I think, maybe putting in the work into the story, or even having enough set pieces to kind of carry it, because at some point it degenerates into like the set pieces are, oh, anyone could be a demon. We don't know who they're going to be, and we're really not going to give you much clue, and we're just going to spring it on you to shock you and surprise you. Like the girl, and I thought the set when the girl and the guy are going through the ear ducts. He thinks he hears a demon behind him,
right?
So he puts her in front of him, and then he thinks he hears the demon in front, and it turns out right it's her. I thought that was quite good, a quite cool idea, because I wasn't quite sure, because I think I was so concentrating on where they coming in the ear duct behind them. So I thought that worked pretty well, but that then seems to be their move, is like, we're just going to surprise you about who's going to be a demon now. And that seems to be their kind of only, like, that's the only kind of scare really you get, or, shock. And they kind of just keep hammering it on right to the end, I think, don't they? But that to me, the film is still the length it is, and it still has enough. I think it still has enough set pieces in action and gore and effects in it, and it looks nice. All these things. It's just the way they've been kind of organised, and the story hasn't quite been there. So I don't think any budgetary things have held this back. I think it's maybe. I don't know really what. I think to me it feels like they thought they had more than they had when they started filming it, and then once they had done it, or whilst they were filming it, like, oh, this is actually going to, so this is going to be shorter than we think it's going to be, and they've had to just stretch it a little bit, which is a shame. But yeah, I think it should have been. I had quite high hopes for it as well, because as you said, there's a lot of love for this film and its sequel, and it's not bad. And I mean, I would watch it again. I think about it's something you'd probably just put on, have a few drinks, and like you have to watch it maybe in a group or something like that, and just kind of not worry too much about what's happening. It's just more about about those gory set pieces, isn't it?
I think, yeah, it has its moments as well, and it's got some nice stylish lighting. It's got a few iconic shots, particularly the famous one of the demons coming up the stairs with sort of the luminous eyes. It's a good moment. And I think the heavy metal soundtrack is quite unusual for a horror movie. Yeah. And I think there's moments where that combination of the metal music and the sort of anarchic kind of panic, there's the scene when the crowd's trying to burst out, trying to get out the theatre. They find the doors are bolted shut, and I don't know what tune it is, but I thought that's a bit of a unique moment, in the sense that combination of the sort of fast-paced action horror with that music makes it a bit unique, and I thought that worked quite well. But it was just too little of those kind of quality moments. It was just too stretched, I think, over a whole feature.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like the runtime's like, is it like 88 minutes or something like that? So it's not even as if it's a long film, but yeah, the fact, it is a shame that they couldn't quite fill that even that kind of slightly shorter runtime. I honestly think like, and again, I don't think it would have cost them much to do. Would have been just front loading it a little bit more with more character stuff. You know, I'm thinking like that. You know, the blind guy that's there with his guide and stuff like that, and like the random guy that just comes in and they just start like having sex. Like some more setup with that, even, you know, might have been interesting.
The blind man's a good character. I did like the blind man.
Yeah, it was interesting. Again, another character that you think is going somewhere maybe, or something's going to happen, and they do something with him. You know, like he's the kind of the one that got away or got out. You know, that starts to spread. But I don't know. Like, you just feel that there's. As I said, they wouldn't have had to put much like money for production value, I don't think, into front loading it a little bit. Maybe we even spend, you know, some time seeing those other characters getting their tickets given to them. You know, like that something as simple as that, and getting to know those characters a little bit more. It may have made it even worse, the fact that they don't do much with them, but it would have been, you know, it would have been something that would have spaced out the kind of last what's 2/3 of the film. You know, maybe they kind of condensed that a little bit and made that a little bit better, or more concentrated. But yeah, I think it's a shame, but I would watch it again. It was fun enough. The fun bits were fun. As I say, it was a little bit of a kind of, I was hoping for a little bit more, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, we're just going to put a pin in it right there for now. We're going to go on and talk about Demons 2. But if you want to check that out, if you check back for part 2 next week, and we'll see you there.
It was a nightmare.